Welcome to episode 133 of Nobody Special.
On this episode, we'll talk about the first presidential debate and loving one another.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everyone, welcome to Nobody Special, two nobodies talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the host and the regular host of Nobody Special.
And I'm Andrew, your guest host of Nobody Special. And we are two generations, we're not. We're two generations of people looking to find God in pop culture, politics, and everything in between while trying to not take it too seriously.
And that's been harder than normal. Hey, so before we get started, Caleb is still alive. I've gotten in really bad habits. He's had just a crazy travel schedule, and we've been trying to get ahead taping, and just didn't one week. We're like, oh shoot, we forgot. And then I forgot to announce. Here's a little podcast history. We did this for Whoops-a-Doodle number 5. Andrew and I taped an episode.
A good episode.
It was fine.
It was good. It was top shelf.
Top shelf. And if you support our Patreon, you'll be no. And so the episode before that, because Caleb he was out for like 3 weeks or something. So I had Evan on, who did fantastic, and a lot of people didn't know it was Caleb because they sound very similar, kind of. And then I forgot to say why Caleb wasn't there. So I got emails. Did I recast Caleb? And then I had to say like, no, Andrew will be on next week though, and that was yeah,
exactly what you would say if he was in your freezer.
Right. Gosh. That's one option. I was asked, did I fire him? And I was like, no, we're gonna work through it.
Yeah, fire.
We're gonna work through. No, he's doing good. He's at something in Texas. He's told me, I forgot.
Again. Maybe you hadn't thought through all the details of the backstory.
He's at summer camp.
He's at the farm.
He's at the farm with all the other gerbils I grew up with.
He's having a great time.
He's having a great time. He can't write because he's having so much fun. Man. No, but he's doing good. He'll be back probably next week. Who really knows at this point? And gosh, he's going to hate this.
He probably does.
He's going to hate this segment.
Caleb, please come back.
Why didn't you edit that out, Danny? Because we do one take. You know how this is, fool.
It's called One Take Daniel.
That's super not it either. So church has been doing kind of these kind of devotional things. I've had to do a few, and the amount editing yourself is one of the most both humiliating and humbling things you will ever do.
Why? You can add so many cool things. Like, you could add dragon effects in the background to yourself,
right?
Whereas maybe you couldn't with Pastor Joseph.
But it's the amount of things I have to cut out. Are like,
no way, man! Don't you cut anything out? You're perfect.
No, I have the audio to prove I am not. In a few of these devotionals, during the part where my face isn't on there, I'm going to be honest. I don't have a speech impediment for those. But it comes back when the cuts would be too jarring to have my face on the screen. That's sadly not a joke. Oh. I'm like, well, you can't. There's nothing to look at. You're going to notice. So anyway, that's not where we want to go. Andrew, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
So I'm going to ask some questions I asked you 2 months ago when we tried to do this first time. How's quarantine going? Are you still quarantining? Where are we?
I'm not. Are we still quarantining?
I don't know. These are all great questions.
I think what we're doing now as a society is like suggesting that we be careful. Is probably a good way to say it.
It's disturbing that that's a new thing we're trying.
Yeah, we're not supposed to lick things now. So that's a good. I now watch movies and I think you're too close to each other. Like, that's an actual thought in my mind now.
Right.
Like, I get uncomfortable because people are close to one another.
Right. It's just your wife at home. Like, could you 6 feet a little bit? It's not. I know we're in the same house. I just don't feel comfortable.
No, it's good. We got a little bit of quarantine I don't know. It helped us to practice a little bit. We now do homeschooling, and I now work from home.
Yes.
So we started practicing. We started doing that truly in August, September, but we got a lot of practice from March on.
Right.
So by the time we actually
the spring break
launched,
that never ended.
by the time we launched our ministry full time, we were already super pros at staying home all the time.
Right. Oh yeah, Student Go is up and going full time, so this is pretty exciting. I know that's got to be a bit. I mean, you're coming off of a church staff, and then to like, I now support myself.
False. I have lots of people who support me.
Or like, I have to procure support.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's new. It's exciting though because I get to be in a lot of different churches, and it's super cool to just walk into a church and find a tired youth guy and say, hey, so I was in your shoes.
Right.
Now I'm not.
We've been there.
Can I do anything for you for free?
Right.
And just to see them light up and say, here's all the things that I want to accomplish.
Right.
But don't have the time, energy, or resources and to be able to, I don't know, it's just really cool to be able to do that.
Yeah,
so.
and I mean, I've gone through the content a bit, and I appreciate that first day is just a hour hug.
Yep.
Of just like, it's gonna be good, Scooter. You're doing fine. You're doing good.
And that's one of the things.
Just cry it out. Just really.
That's one of the things that come in and talking to youth pastors. They're like, this is so different. I've had people come in with great curriculums, wonderful curriculums, but it is, how can your church fit our curriculum?
Right.
And what we say is, how can our curriculum best serve your church?
Right.
How do we make you the winner of this whole thing? How do we make you the rock star?
Right.
You know, of your giving glory to God, right? Obviously.
Absolutely.
But like, how do we make you win? Not, hey, we're coming in to help you, fix you, any of that type of stuff. So it's been very well received by youth pastors who are like,
absolutely. I would have killed for that in student pastor days because I'm proud of the stuff I did, and I would do it all differently if I could do it again.
Right, of course.
And a good amount of the things I stopped and questioned. It was how can I get this curriculum for free? Because some of these places put it behind a paywall. I have done a sample of just about every single curriculum out there. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna try it. I don't know what to do this month. Like that. That's what I really meant. Yeah. So like, I've become really good at like, that one's good. Here are the downsides. Like, how do you know? Like, because my budget was spent.
Well, the way that we built it is, I'm sitting in my office as a youth pastor over middle school and high school, and at the time college, and I just went, who would I let talk to me if they walked in the door? Like who? Because I've had people come in. Because he got
busy at the end, and like,
I've had people come in.
Who would I talk to me?
No, like, who would I not immediately emotionally shut down if they start a pitch? Right? Like, here's how your student ministry can be better, and it can't be better without us, and here's why, and like, who would I let walk in the door? And there's a great local representative of Fellowship of Christian Athletes that he was in the door, like, and now our church partners with him because he said, how do I care about you as a church? Right? Like, how can I help you thrive? And I was like, well, this is how. And he was like, great, I'll do that. And they didn't ask for anything. And I was like, oh, how can I help you thrive? And
can we be best friends? Yeah.
And it was great. And that relationship continues. So we just built it from like, what do churches want? And how can we enter into partnerships with churches to help them thrive without causing them to clam up and just retreat and say,
what's the angle?
Exactly.
And what are you really getting at?
I had a youth pastor ask me that. He goes, so what do you get? And I was like, I get to do what God's called me to do all the time. And
20% of merchandising, no big deal or anything.
Exactly.
Have you seen these Student Go t-shirts?
It's been, man, it's been a lot of fun. And there's a lot of excitement and energy talking to churches, big churches, multi-thousand person churches, and then a church of 50 that we were at this last Sunday. Like 50 people. Yeah. When quarantine's not happening. 50 people. Right. 8 teenagers. How do we serve that church?
Actually, statistically, that's pretty good.
That's really good. They're really killing it, man.
It should be 5, you know. So
So it's been a lot of fun.
No, that's exciting though, and getting to homeschool the kids who are amazing. You have just the most adorable kids.
They're pretty cool.
They're great.
It's like, but it is interesting because they never anticipated so much recess. Like, because homeschooling, you don't waste any time. You like, and I built this homeschool classroom in our garage. So they walk out the door, they go to their classroom. They're there for like 2 hours, and they complete more than they would in a regular school day, just because there's zero interruptions.
Right.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're learning the same stuff, and then they're like, "All right, it's 11 a.m. Recess till bedtime. Go."
Right.
So it's been an adventure.
Man, that's gonna be hard when they get a job.
Yeah.
I have to work for how many hours? Oh, no thanks, I'm good.
I'm gonna homework.
Right.
Like my dad. He works in the garage.
I'm just gonna start a non-for-profit. It seems to be easier. I'm gonna rent out the garage space from him. No, that's super cool though, and I'm glad they're totally kind of in on that. Homeschooling's kind of gotten a lot better, especially since parents have been and I'm not sure when I've talked about this. I know I have before, but as schools have been opening back up, they've had the option of doing digital school, going back in person, or just going like, bump this, I'm just going to homeschool them. Because if they're doing digital school and homeschooling, there's not a huge difference between those two. I'm going to be honest. And then the amount of parents that are still working from home and going like, are they still talking about that? Like, do you get it yet? Yeah. No, I understood it an hour ago. Yeah. All right, move on. Just move on, Well,
homeschooling is probably a lot like the gluten-free wave.
Right.
Where like my wife, celiac, she will get very sick if she has any gluten. Like any gluten. So 6.5 years ago when we got married, gluten-free pasta was literal sand in your mouth, like the grain. It was so gross.
Yes.
But then everyone got on the gluten-free wave,
right?
And now gluten-free stuff is actually not that bad,
right? They started putting effort into it,
and so homeschool is, I think, a lot the same way, over a longer period of time. But like back in the day, it was probably a lot more difficult. But now there are crazy resources. Like there's a website where teachers can write their own stuff and make their own exercises and worksheets, then put them on there, and then you as a homeschool parent can buy, like, give me 200 coloring pages for $5. Go. Just add to cart, print.
As a children's minister, I'm going to need this website.
I don't know what it's called.
Find it. Do we need to pause the show? What are we doing? Pause the show.
But it's incredible because like you really can. You can add in things that your child is weak in, and all that. Right. So it's been fun. It's a new season with us all at home all the time. Yeah. But quarantine,
still loving each other. But we're prepped for it. Yeah.
Quarantine kind of got us ready for it.
Yeah, you got the fights out of the way before.
It's amazing talking to.
Why do your teeth click?
Have you always done this?
What's the foot tapping is?
Why do you chew? Why?
If you could stop breathing, I would super appreciate it.
No, it's been really good. So we're loving it.
Excellent. Yeah. No, I'm movies are starting to open back up. I was actually excited about that. And I have to vet. I know we have like actual things to cover. The Black Widow movie. Are you a Marvel fan?
No. No. Okay. Here's what I'll say. I enjoy them.
Yeah.
I don't follow Marvel though.
Okay.
Like I don't like. There, you know what I mean. There are people who. Is it you? Okay, so there's yous who actively follow everything and how it all connects and all that. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. All right.
But I enjoy them.
All right, just kind of throw me on the bus like.
I think they're great.
They postponed the Black Widow movie again. No big deal or nothing.
Are we mad about that?
Yeah, I'm very mad. It's supposed to come out in like March,
and it was supposed to be good.
It was supposed to come out. I don't know if it's good.
Well, they're like, let's take the least interesting Avenger and make her own standalone. Sorry, that was Hawkeye. The second least interesting Avenger and make her own standalone movie.
It's like Caleb is here with us.
They don't do anything.
They do.
They do less than actual Navy SEALs. In the movies. Not them and their characters.
I am appalled at the level of disrespect shown on this podcast to Black Widow.
Hey, Caleb, I got you. Okay? I'm sitting in the chair. We're sharing one essence.
One brain.
She's just not...
Between the two of you, you have one.
And she's
brain.
she's like bad in most of like the cartoons and stuff.
No, she's complicated with a dangerous past.
That's overdone.
Okay.
So is Darth Vader, but he's way better.
Okay. Well, the movie's postponed. I'm really sad about it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of, I went and saw Gold the other day in the theater.
Who?
Gold. I just meant a good movie.
Oh, okay. I'm like, is there a movie I haven't heard of?
No.
Yep.
Some buddies and I went to see the re-theater release of Empire Strikes Back.
Special edition or not?
I don't think so.
Good. So
No.
the good version.
No, I don't think so.
Not the grab for more money.
No, I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
And it was unique seeing those graphics on a very large screen.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's totally awesome. I've enjoyed that theaters have tried to do this because all the companies said like we're going to stop putting out movies because it's not going to make money, so people can go and see things they wish they would have seen in the theaters, which is kind of dope.
Like in the 80s.
Yeah, in 70s for
70s.
I think Star Wars was
Empire.
70s?
I think Empire was 80. I could be wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not a movie connoisseur.
I mean, or Jurassic Park. I wasn't allowed to see that in 91.
Right.
I was 5. And I was certainly not allowed to go into the theaters with that one.
I was almost born.
Oof. I'm feeling super old.
Oh, you're fine. We said the whole 2 generations thing. We're really only 5 years apart.
Excellent. But yeah, no, I was going to get a group of people to go see that because it's only like $100 to get the theater, like the whole theater. I'm like,
yeah.
Even if I got 5 friends, it's a lot, but it's not that. It's
$20.
Not, yeah, it's not that bad.
Easy
you
peasy.
Know?
I mean, it's good. So
Jurassic Park.
it was good, and we'll see when they start coming out with movies again. Venom 2 is coming out soon.
Yeah, and people are going to need to kind of start the debate as to do they need to go to the movie theaters? Is it safe or is it unsafe? And people are cautious about that, and they're kind of debating a bit. Speaking of.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, take a sip.
All right, so let's do this. The presidential debate, the first presidential debate for 2020. Here's the deal. We were both dragging our feet getting there. We don't really want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it because it just happened. A presidential debate between Donald J. Trump and Joe Jameson Biden did occur on...
Something occurred.
I wouldn't even call it a debate. So...
No, because it usually has a format and like... points, counterpoints.
A debate?
There's not typically...
It has the elements of a debate.
There's not typically any slapping involved.
No.
Listen,
this was...
My wife was... I wasn't even interested in watching this thing. I could have told you how it was going to play out.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in watching. She's like, we're going to watch the debate. So we stop watching what we're watching to turn on the debate. She listens to about 10 minutes of it and promptly goes to sleep and goes, hey, let me know what happens in the rest of the debate.
Right.
So I'm sitting there alone, frustrated, watching this thing, but feeling the pressure to like tell her what happened the next day.
So instead, after the debate is over, you go in, kiss her gently on the forehead and say, everything's going to be fine, honey. It's going to be fine. And then you hold her tighter than you've ever held her in your life.
Everyone was...
and cry yourself to sleep that night.
I mean...
Like, what happened?
There is great hope for the future of our country.
It's going to be fine. These are tears of happiness. like what was... I told people beforehand, it's going to start off, Trump's going to bully Biden in an effort to throw him off, and then at some point, it's going to be funny for like 2 minutes.
Right.
And then at some point, it's going to keep going, and everyone's going to go, oh no, this is where we live now.
Yeah.
No.
It's crazy to me.
That's what happened, Andrew.
It is. It's crazy to me how I'm coming out of youth ministry. I was paid to be immature for a few years there. Right? How a 29-year-old can be sitting in bed and go, hey guys, let's maybe grow up a little bit.
Right.
Like there were common sense common courtesy and decency things
Right.
that were just thrown completely out the window.
Right.
Like without excuse.
Right. As a person who's told fart jokes in very important meetings, they were behaving very inappropriately.
Isn't that
you know what I mean?
mind-blowing that you can say that and it's actually true?
Yeah.
Like, and everyone would agree with you?
Yeah. So and I'm trying to not tell people you got to vote for this person or this person, but because I think it's important to vote. Everyone needs to go out and vote. And I super don't care who you vote for. I have my own thoughts, my own opinions, and I'm not going to share them here. Probably not. But this was a colossal train wreck, and that was the angst part of it, is that I was watching this and thinking, whatever side of this I'm on, one of those two people will be the leader of the free world in a few months. And just it was on all kinds of Facebook, social media posts, all that. To be honest, there wasn't a lot of conversation that occurred the day after. And I was talking to a person about it, and they straight up kind of talked about, it's like, because we're all in mourning today, it's like, this is where we are, and none of us really enjoy it. I mean, this is not the way political discourse should happen.
It was the most divisive, uniting event we've ever had, right? Because I really did see that. Like there were articles from Fox and articles from CNN that were like, "Hey guys, sorry."
Right.
Like and
you made me agree with CNN. How dare you?
it was just, it was wild. It was childish, and that really is the thing, because you look to the president, you look to the government, you look to those who've made it to that podium. Right. Like the person who's made it to that podium, and you go, okay, like my kids are 7 and 5. They're asking me questions about the president. Yeah. Like they're learning about presidents in school. We say the Pledge of Allegiance every day in school to our little $2.99 flag up in the corner. and
it's $299.
Yeah.
It's like a real American. And I'm sorry. And that was way more condescending than I meant it to be. I apologize.
But like to look at that display, and see just angry, petulant, from both sides, and like you said, whatever side you're on, you've got to go, why didn't my guy just stop?
For both of them to clench a W in this entire thing, it's insulting how little they had to do. I mean, I'm just being straight up honest. There were so few things they had to do, and most of it just involved shutting up. And neither of them felt they were able to do that, because everything's been building for, and I personally blame a little bit of the quarantine for this. We've all been stuck inside and been made to wear a muzzle, even if it's for safety. I'm not saying they're bad things. I'm just saying that takes an emotional toll on a person. That everything is at this point of just, it's a powder keg that you try and keep the flames away from. But then here comes two guys just like, did someone call for a torch? Like no, you back up, please. And it was sad and stressful. I was tired at the end of it. Because I was emotionally, that's all I had to just stare at it and go, oh man, this is bad. I mean, this is bad. Now, granted, I'm not gonna be that Christian podcast that says like, hey guys, it's time, the Lord's coming tomorrow, clearly, or any of that, or it's time to panic, because to be honest, compared to a lot of the other things in church history, this is a cakewalk. I mean, neither of them are claiming, when the city's power goes out, should we light the Christians on fire?
Or, hey guys, I'm God now. There's very little of that going on.
Or Caligula's like, I'm just gonna kill you with like no ulterior motive. Just gonna do it. Well, why? I don't know. Tuesdays, like it's Tuesdays. So we will be fine as people of the faith, because our hope isn't in the presidency. But I don't know. So this is part of the thing I was interested in actually talking about, is that there was a guy who said this, and I don't remember who, so I can't quote him. So in true pastoral fashion, it's mine now. Which
Now just tell a story about your kids.
Yeah, my kids. I steal all those stories because I don't have children. No, he was talking about everyone spending all this time trying to figure out which chapter in Revelation we are.
Right.
Which and I've been very clear about this, even on and off the show. I don't care if there is a literal man on a literal horse that says I am the war horse. It's still not time for your end times theories. Like, it's still not time. But people keep trying to figure out, it's like, well, is this in the book of Revelation or this? And this guy brought up the problem is all of us are smack dab in the middle of Judges. Of just the theme of Judges is, and everyone did what they wanted.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous place to be in as a community, as a culture, because you can't have just everyone doing what they want.
Yeah, I mean, we see we see that played out in areas, right. and especially regardless of politics, these areas that have said we're no longer part of the United States.
Right.
We're going to do whatever we want.
Right.
Hasn't turned out well.
No.
Right. It hasn't turned out well, and on some scale, I think that Christian, like, part of the Christian ideal is you can't tell me what to do. It's part of the reason that American Christianity is so watered down. It's because you can't tell me what to do. I have freedom and liberty and justice for all.
Right.
But just pretty much the freedom and liberty.
And only the justice I want for people. Like,
specifically me.
Yeah, specifically my justice, No, but I mean, that's the issue, though. And even growing up, Judges, it was kind of taught to me as these are cool characters in the Bible, especially Samson. Strong man who pushed over the pillars. Samson sucked. Like, the man sucked.
Yeah.
So first of all, he was a jerk. He was a total jerk. He was arrogant, and he understood it because he thought that all his strength came from himself, and he quickly found out that to not be the case. He also murdered some people by, like, taking the jawbone of a donkey and just clubbing them to death with that, because why not? And granted, there were some other statements behind that. I'm really breezing through it fast, and then. But like, this isn't the guy that you go like,
hey, Bible Project, Daniel would like you to pick him up. Pick him up.
Are y'all hiring? I got some hot takes for you.
Just murdered some guys.
We kinda. I mean, like, kinda.
I mean, okay.
So
caught
then
some foxes. Tied their tails together, started them on fire.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sent him through the crops.
Right.
Wasn't that him?
Pretty sure.
That was him.
Think so.
Sounds like him.
But then he finds this woman who 3 times, asks him, like, hey, what's the source of your strength, big boy? That's the Message version. And then he's like, oh, if you try and stab me on Tuesdays, then my strength will be gone. So she hides and tries to stab him on a Tuesday. He's like, gotcha. That's not it. She does this like 3 times, and the 4th time he goes like, all right, now I'll actually tell you the truth. Now that I know I can trust you. Like, what do you... It was never explained to me that although a judge, he was really only a judge of this like minor section at the end that actually kind of is him going like, yeah, I kind of screwed that one up. So God, if you're there, like, yeah, I'm still here. Thank you for finally asking. Like, it was at that point, but this isn't this guy that all of us need to go, oh, I wish I had the strength of Samson. I mean, this isn't the good guy of the story.
You have such hot takes on Samson.
I know, but like,
wow, I've never heard somebody go at Samson so hard.
Is he what? How do you describe Samson?
I feel weird describing Samson now.
I know. Go. Please give me a more balanced take.
Okay.
Because most of that story was not told to me till I was like 25 or something.
Okay, I get that. You got some repressed Samson. Samson was a tool sent by God,
correct,
used by God to accomplish a task.
Sorry.
I mean, like, he did the things for a reason.
Samson was a tool.
He did
... sent by God.
There you go. It's like, and don't get me started
by
on
God.
Don't get me started on Jonah.
Yeah.
How much I hate that guy.
This is a racist. Like, what?
There
are
we
just
go.
calling it what it is?
Let's go.
This is a racist. Get me wound up. Here we go. Sorry. Go ahead. How do you? All right. So he's a tool sent by God.
What was the? No, that's it. That's your balanced take.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and
But there were some major character issues here that I feel are often.
I mean, it's like
not
Gideon.
described.
Gideon was a weenie.
Yeah. Correct.
Still a tool sent by God,
Right.
to accomplish a task,
Right.
which he did.
Right.
Was judge.
But they kind of paint these judges as kings, and that's not true as to what they were.
Oh.
People followed them because they needed someone to follow them.
Of course.
And it was essentially Batman that just kind of decided, like, I guess I'm going to fight crime today.
I don't. I mean, God called them though. He sent the judges to accomplish the things. However, Pastor Brian Chappell in American Gospel says, isn't it interesting how the scripture takes time to tar every character but one? Right? Those are our broken images accomplishing whatever form of justice was even graspable. In that time, in a time where, full circle, everyone was doing right in their own eyes. Basically whatever they wanted to do.
Right. And I guess that's the thing is people have painted over the tarring. And the tarring is essential to the story because it points to a thing greater than them.
Of course.
Yeah. So we found agreement.
Like
Excellent.
Ehud. He was left-handed, so we know he was wrong-handed.
Right. He was incorrect.
He was made backwards.
That's one of the few times the Bible takes to describe the physical characteristics of someone else. His name is Eglon, and I can't get past that because, like...
he's Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
That's who he is. He's Jabba the Hutt. And when Leia chokes him with his own chain, that is literally stabbing... We'll get that sound on a podcast.
I told that story to teens at a camp, and anytime Eglon said something, I went, Yo Harun Ha Wookie. And they're like, oh, he's doing it. I'm like, yeah, this is happening. What up? It's a bedtime story.
He's Pizza the Hutt.
Anyway.
Underrated movie.
Oh, super. Anyway, everybody is trying to do justice as they see fit. The problem is in this case, in our case, there seems to be a fair amount of ignoring of God.
Oh, yeah.
And just, I'm trying to do the thing I feel is just instead of a thing that God is telling us to do. And I think this idea of the presidency has become idolized to an extent.
Yeah.
On both ends. I mean, on the right is this, that the president is the moral head of the church. That it has to be this person, because if they can't, then the church can't be the church, and it's crime to be a Christian. All these things that are just completely untrue. And on the other end is that the presidency is the person that grants everything to a person, that they control a person's ability to eat, sleep, and to be alive, and that is also not the function of the presidency. And I think this is creating this danger between all the people that they've elevated this job that is important and is a high job, but they've taken it beyond a place to a point of Christological importance that is getting really dangerous.
That's a really good point. Like we look at, and this is what we know, we look at the government and the head of that, the president, and say he is the one who allows us to be the church. Right. Like if let's do this from both sides, right? Like if we elect a Democrat, then oh no, the church will be squashed, and we will no longer be able to be the church, go to church, follow Jesus, things like that. And an actual fear that that's going to happen. So, man, we better get our Republican guy in there. Or from the opposite perspective, right? If a Republican is there, then what are we going to do? We're not going to have healthcare. We're not going to have all these essential needs that we need. And Scripture deals with both of those things, and says, hey, the moment that you begin to depend, like, man, being in ministry, there are some times where we just have not had right? There have been times where we've been so greatly blessed, but there's times where we just have not had.
Right.
And the thought of, man, I wish someone would just give me the money so that I wouldn't have to struggle, I wouldn't have to suffer, I wouldn't have to do a hard thing. Like, so much of our faith is built on doing the hard things, right? And then to the other side, so much of our faith is built on striving toward God despite the world pulling you back.
Sure.
Right? Like, I don't need somebody to give me permission to follow Christ.
Yeah.
And even if they're saying I can't, welcome to the rest of the world.
Right. Yeah.
Like the rest of the world, and they're doing great.
Yeah. Actually, so this is part, because a person asked, what do I think is going on through all this? And I was just honest. Throughout all of church history, including biblical history, all of this from Adam and Eve until present, there's been this constant ebb and flow of the church that has occurred through periods of great blessing and periods of great culling.
Yeah.
And I think this is a culling period. I mean, it starts off, the people of God are in the presence and blessed by God, and then at a point they think they don't need God, and they depart and try and do things on their own. And the problem of departing God is that God, to a certain extent, goes like, all right, see what you can come up with. Give it a shot, see what happens. And they can get by a bit because they're I'm trying to not say glory train or glory cloud, because that's a whole other thing we're just not going to get into. They can get by a bit, but then it becomes hard because they're trying to do the things of God without the presence of God. So then it fails, and it just stops doing the things it does. And the people they come out of the church, they stop being obedient to God, they stop doing all those things. But the people that are still there are crying out to God and saying, God, please help us. Yeah. This is the bottom for us. And we trust that even though this is going on, you are here. We don't know what's going on, but know that you are here. Please save us. And God comes to save them, and they're back at that first place of being in the presence and purpose of God. The church drops off in amount of people, but because the people that are still there understand what it means to be persecuted, to be poor, to be broken, to be all these things, the church is stronger, even though there's not as many people.
Yeah. So I'm reading Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and I just got through a section where it was talking about the suffering of Christ and how we will take the example of Christ and we will take the blessing of Christ, we will take the saving of Christ, but we refuse to suffer in the way that Christ did. Right. Like we outright reject it.
Right.
And he just made the point where he was like, hey, if this is the one that you follow, if Christ-like is actually a term, you receive the suffering of Christ with joy, knowing that he did it first, and two, he can sustain you in all things. He's literally all you need.
Right.
And I think of, like, you, as you're talking, it is the account in Scripture of them asking for a king, right? Because nothing works. Yeah. Literally nothing works.
They have the judges work out.
They don't have the judges anymore, and the priests aren't working, and things like that. And so they're like, we want a king just like all the other nations. And God's like, well, I was going to be your king. And they're like, no, that's weird. We can't really see you. Right. So that's weird. Give us an actual human king. And so they have this human king, Saul, and they put all of their hope,
whom they picked because he was tall.
But they put all of their hope in this guy that's supposed to... He's supposed to be the one to lead them into blessing, right? And he doesn't, right? And they blame God, right? Like that's the answer, right? Is God, why did you let us do such a where did you go? Why did you let us do such a thing?
Excuse me, God, the person that you told us we didn't need didn't work out.
Man, it's so crazy because like right now in our country, I've got friends who are Christians who are in a full panic. Right. Because they think that something's going to happen in the election that they don't want to happen. And they're freaking out. Right. I've got friends who are Christians who look at this and they go, wow, last night was a train wreck. Good thing God's in control.
Right. Yeah.
If Trump is our president, good thing God's in control. If Joe Biden is our president, good thing God is in control. And they mean it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just wild. It does not excuse the behavior of those two old men
it
on national television on every channel.
And I mean, I get disconcerted about those of the faith that are praising the actions of one of them over the other.
Woof.
Because that is to me more problematic than anything else. To stare at that and go, no, this is fine. He's standing up for truth or something. Man. It's like, is that what that was?
I saw so many, and granted, they weren't necessarily from Christians. I saw so many articles. Like the most prevalent thing was, and you might be able to guess it, when Joe Biden said, "Shut up, man."
Would you just shut up, man?
That statement alone was the centerpiece of the debate articles. Man, wasn't it great when he said that? It's like, no.
When he finally stood up for him and called him a clown.
No, that's not what we need to be praising here.
Yeah.
And it just, whatever side someone is on, it just breeds division and anger.
Absolutely.
And that for the Christian should be like a polar opposite. Like two magnets that do not stick together. I know that our hearts want to go, yeah, get him. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But as Christians, we are called to outright reject that kind of discourse. Right?
Yeah.
And
yes, absolutely.
And any Christian who is cheering for that is just, this is black and white. This isn't even a hot take. You're doing it wrong.
Right.
You're doing it wrong. And if you don't believe me, here's some Bible. This is Jesus in John 13. And he just got done. And the King of the universe just got done washing his gross disciples' nasty feet. Right? And then he says, he says, and he just healed Lazarus from the dead. And he didn't say, that's what I want you to do. Right. He said, hey, this is the example that I want you to follow. Wash each other's feet. Okay? And then he says this. It says this. When he had gone out, Jesus said, now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. God is glorified in Jesus. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and glorify him at once. A lot of glory. Little children, and I love that, right? Like Jesus is just like, hey guys,
just so you know where we are.
He might be talking to Biden and Trump there. Hey, little children, little children, yet a little while I'm with you, you will seek me, and just as I said to the Jews, so now I also say to you, where I am going, you can't come. Right? He's like, I'm going to be gone, right? You cannot rely on me forever. I'm about to leave.
I'm about to float upward.
And then he says this, a new commandment, and commandment, that's a strong word, right? Do it. A new commandment I give you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. Imagine like how Jesus loves his disciples, coming off the heels, get it, of washing their feet and looking forward toward dying for them. He says, just as I have loved you, you are also to love one another. And then here's the kicker. By the way that you love one another, all people, not just Christians, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another.
Right. And this is the part of I mean, even putting the debate aside for a bit,
right?
The kind of the Facebook posts, all these things that our culture, even in Christianity, has gotten to a point of being okay in glorifying the pounding of another person.
Absolutely.
And I mean, even check out the articles that people type out and people click on them because they title them these things because it works. Is like, this person absolutely destroys another, or this person owns the libs, and it's just, this is, I've seen that one.
I can picture
it. Right. Like it's like absolutely thug life, but this is a thing that our culture as a whole, including Christianity's not getting off kind of the hook on this. That they have grown to celebrate this
Yep.
instead of taking time to actually care about those in our immediate culture, on our Facebook feed, on all these types of places, because it's become more about I need to get the thing I think is true instead of actually caring about another person.
The celebration of people's demise, right? Like gosh, and you can see it everywhere,
right?
You can see it everywhere, like even in, with celebrities, we love when they fall,
right?
And with sports, we love when the mighty fall and are embarrassed and things like that. And as Christians, our participation in that says, I have not been changed, right? It communicates, I have not been changed.
It says,
it
I can look like you.
Exactly. You don't need anything. Jesus, all Jesus gets you is heaven. You get to do whatever you want.
Right.
And I've seen this in the church and in Christian culture and in this whole, like, I'm not on social media, and this is part of the reason, is I can't handle...
You're free.
I can't handle people's comment sections.
Yeah.
I can't. I physically get embarrassed for people who are keyboard warriors and the like.
Right.
And then seeing that play out in the two leaders of the free world, potential leaders of the free world.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the example that we're setting.
Right.
And please don't claim to know Jesus, right? And we as Christians have to be so careful in our endorsement. Man, I have friends from the opposite side, and it's so hard to talk to folks, because it's like, I've only got two options.
Right. So I've gotten to the point, and this also happened in 2016. I was having a similar problem of both of their personas, their character, I found to be morally abhorrent on both ends. Yeah. One of them smiled more and it felt sweeter, but it didn't carry the same thing. And it's the same thing. And now that both their moral character is abhorrent. So if I'm understanding that God is above the presidency, and they're going to have to answer to the things they've done in the same kind of a manner that I'm going to have to answer to the things I've done, then I'm more okay to vote based on policy and plan instead of on character. Now, I'm not claiming character doesn't matter, because it does, but I'm not trying to, and not sound cliche, I'm not trying to figure out which person is the God bearer for America.
Who's less scummy? Based on their own person.
I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to put the person that's going to make the best policy choices. And it's not the character is unimportant, but that isn't the big thing.
Yeah. And it seems increasingly like it is the big thing. We were watching and they started going back and forth, and I said to my wife, I said, we'll never have a normal election again.
No.
Never.
No.
I mean, mark my words. This is it. This is the norm now.
Right.
Is who can we put up there that can
own the libs.
Own
the libs.
They can beat the other party. Yeah. And we've arrived. Right. The noble politician is no longer. Right. The fighting fair, the respect for one another, it's not there anymore.
No.
We've lost it.
No.
And I don't know how you get it back.
So part of as I think through these things, just because I have a lot of time to think, especially now that we're just kind of coming out of quarantine or whatever we were doing. I was not good at it anyway, whatever, that's a different story. Had a lot of time to think. I mean, these things, when it gets to this point, that it's this contentious, things appear very dark, and to be fair, they're pretty dark. I'm not gonna say like, no, it's actually bright out, you just gotta open your eyes or any of that. This is a dark chapter in the book. If there isn't a better time to be a Christian than now, I don't know what it is. Because if I am a light in the darkness, then this is an opportunity to shine the brightest. This is an opportunity to create that kind of an impact, to be able to go, although everybody out there is just picking at each other and putting each other down, that I can demonstrate Christ just by caring about another person. That I can demonstrate that there is an alternative to sniping, that it is the grace that comes out of God that has conquered death. And those things are so important to take at the same time too, because if I'm not scared of death because Christ conquered it, then even if another person gets all threatening at me, I don't have to actually be upset, because death won't take anyway. If I trust that God has conquered death, then death becomes a non-issue.
So I'm sitting there the other day talking, this is before the debate, and I'm talking to somebody from the opposite political viewpoint that I am. We kind of went, not like back and forth, but we like discussed just a couple of little things.
Right.
And then I looked at her and I just said, isn't it cool that God is in control? Right. Like, isn't it neat? Because she's a believer, and I just said, isn't it so comforting to know that this isn't it? Right. Like, this isn't where the buck stops. Right. And that we have a hope that is greater and more powerful than this, that can never be taken away. Yeah. And it only gets brighter the more it's, right, more people try to stifle it. Right. That people in these oppressive countries in China and the like those Christians are just so radical. Right. And nothing can stop them from giving glory to God and fellowshipping with believers and growing in the word. They're just hungry for it. And they have like one of the worst governments in the world. Yeah. Like most oppressive governments in the world. And she was like, yeah. And we moved on. Yeah. I mean, that's like the coolest part of the whole thing, though, is that this, as far as Christian persecution, this isn't the worst part of history either. I mean, this isn't even close. There's many other decades of centuries. There's centuries of things that are much worse than this. So we will be fine, especially if our hope is in Christ. If our hope is in the presidency, I'm going to be honest, you're screwed. Like, if your hope is in the person in 2020 coming out, and it's not going to be good. But if our hope is in Christ alone, that Christ has already come and everything Christ has needed to do is done. It's already done. It's already complete. All Christ's parts, like, no, I'm good. Like, I did the stuff. Like, there's nothing else I have to do. And now it's just a matter of all of us catching up to that. Then we will be fine. Yeah. Even if there's this other candidate that gets put in the presidency that, carries a weird pencil kind of a mustache and like, now I will wear, I'm picturing the guy from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Oh, I was picturing Doofenshmirtz. Kind of that, yeah. Or kind of that... Rule the tri-state area.
Yeah. Kind of that kind of person that comes in and is like, now I will be in charge, or something.
Now you're Waluigi.
Okay, yes. If Waluigi's elected president, we will still be fine as Christians.
I don't. That's a whole nother discussion.
Waluigi's underrated. I just want to say it. So, but I do think it's important, though, as people of the faith, we have to start talking different and talking about the hope and faith and love we have, because without those, we are a noisy gong that shouldn't be heard.
We've almost got a leg up, right? Yeah. Like the poor showing of the leader of the free world. It's like, yeah, right. Don't you want something better? Right. Wouldn't it be great if there were something better than that?
Are you saying that in casual conversation, it should be okay to just insert Jesus into the conversation?
Man, I know it's risky.
At any point.
Hey, man, I know it's bold.
Even if it doesn't necessarily apply to the conversation that's being had.
So bold.
Andrew, are you doing it? Are you doing this week's?
Only the boldest of Christians can... Oh, gosh.
I will give you the honor of our Jesus Juke of the week.
Jesus Juke. Jesus Juke. You just got Jesus juked.
Does that mean you got Jesus juked?
Oh, yeah.
I believe it does mean I got Jesus juked, yes. But are we encouraging our whole audience to go and Jesus juke every conversation that they're in?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
I think that's actually a mandate of Christians, absolutely everywhere. I joke about only the boldest of the bold Christians,
right?
And I mean, we have done and this is a whole other conversation. We have done such a terrible job of segmenting, talking about our faith into like, hey, so I gave a cheeseburger to a homeless man, and attached to it was a Bible verse, and that's the only way I can ever talk about Jesus to anyone,
right?
In the most unnatural way possible,
right?
Man, Jesus juke everybody you know.
Right.
It's not as weird as you think it is.
Don't play the music with it.
You
that's
could.
Horrible.
Depending on the person.
If you have to.
That might help.
If you have to, go for it.
If I wasn't a Christian and someone was coming to talk to me about this and they started with that, I'd be like, yeah. You know what? What do you got to say? Give it to me now. like I want to know what the fanfare was about.
Oh, asking for bread? Should be asking for the bread of life. I'm not playing it because we already played it again. No, yeah. I think this is our opportunity, as things are the darkest, to shine the brightest, to actually tell people about the gospel, to tell them, hey, there are alternatives to this that are other than two old men screaming at each other till it makes you want to cry and weep inside and eat Haagen-Dazs all night.
And the crazy thing
might be just me.
I was gonna say
that one might just be me. I don't know.
The crazy thing is that this says, people, by this, all people will know that you are my disciples.
Right.
If you love this way, people will know that you have a hope. So when you talk about that, it's not going to be a weird Jesus juke.
Right.
Like if you talk about the biggest thing, people aren't surprised when I talk about my wife. They're not surprised when I talk about my kids. It's like, they're like, hey, I cut the grass. And I was like, my wife cut the grass because the lawnmower is fun. They're not surprised. They're not like, oh my gosh, he's back to his wife.
Right.
Like they're just like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. That's a connection from, I don't know, one of the biggest parts of your life.
Right.
And if that's Jesus, it's not going to be that weird.
Right. It'll come out more organic than people think it does. And I think that's part of the big fear is like, am I going to come off as strange and creepy at first? I'm like, only if you're scared of coming out strange and creepy. I mean,
if you try really hard to not be strange and creepy, you are. I know a guy.
If it's possible to give a whole testimony and
Jesus
and never actually open the mouth, like, hey, has anyone ever told you about Jesus?
Then it's weird.
Yeah.
Next week on the podcast, tips for not being creepy. I'm not going to be here, so that's on you and
Gosh
Caleb.
Darn it. Okay, tips for not being creepy. I'm not sure either of us are qualified to give.
Woof.
I will sometimes intentionally take the creepy approach because it's a weird icebreaker.
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't not work, like depending on who you're talking to. So, yeah.
Anyway,
so no, I guess our challenge through all this though is all right. We're gonna start small. First of all, find positive things to say on Facebook, Instagram, and all that.
Positive.
Find a positive thing.
Positive.
If it's a good sandwich, let's totally go back to the days when Instagram was sandwiches and food. I'm okay with that. If it's going back to the age of I have to bring a full photography kit to a restaurant to take a picture of my food to make it Instagram okay, that's fine.
It's fine.
Totally okay.
It's fine.
But then be in prayer about a person that is struggling through this to find any kind of hope in this, because we have that hope. It's been given to us and it's bigger than us, so we can share it and be thinking about that person and pray, God, give me an opportunity to talk to that person. And then when they come, don't miss that opportunity. It's like, hey, I've been really trying to find hope in this whole thing. Don't say like, oh yeah, that's weird, me too. Like that, you know, sometimes God opens up the window and you know that sometimes God takes the whole side of the house off and says, do it now. Like, so if the opportunity's there, take the shot.
Take the shot.
Take the shot.
Take the shot. And I think I saw something about this that they might be putting an "Are you sure?" button on Twitter before you share anything.
Right.
And I think that might be good too. Just give it an "Are you sure?" before you share.
Do I really need to say this?
Do we really need to?
But it will get better. This will get better.
Because next debate they're going to have the ability to turn off the microphones. So it will get better.
Dude, who's moderating this one? Do you know?
I have no idea.
I would just like flip them both off. My turn. Like 90 minutes. And they're spending the whole time like, just in the background.
The third party candidate just like sneaks into the moderator's chair.
Joe Jorgensen, her website crashed because so many people, they were Googling Joe Jorgensen. It's like, is she good? Is she ready to roll? Like, is she up?
Man.
Yeah.
You should have someone like Morgan Freeman do the moderating. That way everyone can enjoy at least a third of the debate.
Not to undo everything we've said on this podcast, but someone proposed Samuel L. Jackson. And that would be the opposite of everything that we've said here. And the fleshly part of me would find it infinitely entertaining. Just, something. I don't know. That would be a mess, but...
It would be a mess.
Yeah.
But how much more of a mess can we make?
Is there more wood to knock on? That's in my history, that's a way I've learned to not test God. And like, it can't get worse, can it? Yeah. Do I need to drop the floor out again? Okay. Are you not trusting me yet? Yeah, sure. Let's drop the floor out. Let's see what happens. So,
and then all of a sudden it's October.
Oh my gosh, it's October. Oh, it's October. Oh, we're going to have so many debates in October, including the do we do Halloween, and now on like multiple different levels.
And it's not because of the razor blades anymore.
That's never happened, right? That's never happened.
I don't know.
That's never happened.
I wouldn't say never.
Because how do you push a razor blade into a candy?
Have you ever eaten saltwater taffy? That's always what I picture.
It's just really stale Snickers. Like, ow, it cut me. Yeah, it's not a razor blade. It's just really awful candy.
It was a peanut.
Yeah. It's just a really sharp
Have you ever had peanut brittle? That's a razor blade in and of itself. But then who's handing out peanut brittle?
Where's the peanut brittle house?
The same lady that's handing out pennies and toothbrushes.
Peanut brittle's expensive. That's the house that hands out like full-size Snickers bars. Man, bring 3 costume changes and just keep cycling through. Like, aren't you the same kid? I'm not. Make with the candy, old lady. Ding, 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 ding. Put in the bag. Anyway, I miss trick-or-treating. It's just creepy at this age. But we're straying off here. So, if they're interested in finding out more about Student Go, I know that you are excited about that project. Where can they go?
Absolutely. They can go to studentgo.org. Stands for Student Gospel Outreach, but studentgo.org. You can pray for us. You can join our team. There's a bunch of articles on there that are helpful.
I'll say it. You can also support them financially.
You can also support them.
Please do that
financially.
I'm not getting paid for this.
You are not,
but
I might be.
But he would like to be.
That would be great.
Can actually help him out.
But yeah, just a cool project that we're working on.
Yeah. And then for RN for Nobody Special, if there are any questions, please email us questions. The best place to do that is to go to thegospeloutpost.com/nobody special. There's a form at the bottom of the page. Also, we are on Facebook and Instagram and tend to not do too many political things, just this podcast and only this episode. We may do one more. Who really knows? But Facebook and Instagram at Nobody Special Podcast. Please give us questions, things to talk about, things that are interesting, or things that Caleb and I and potentially Andrew can be praying about. All of us are pumped to do that because it's a cool community, cool people that tune into this podcast, and we appreciate everyone that takes the time to get through this, that listens to our that just suffers through this hour of monotonous bull garbage. So
bull garbage.
We appreciate it. Well, we're not supposed to say the other one. We're not good at not saying the other one, but that is on the standards list.
You say we.
Caleb and I are both not good at saying that one on the podcast.
At not saying that one.
At not saying that.
Which?
Yes. Please send us your questions, and we appreciate all of our listeners. You almost got me. I almost said it.
Said what?
So, well, I think that...
Underwear.
It's going to be another updog situation.
What's updog?
Got him.
No, that's not.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Oh, darn it. What's the other one other than updog? What are you eating under there?
Yeah, underwear.
You're eating underwear.
Gross.
Still more mature than the
I don't
debate.
even know how you would do that.
Well, just a little
We
bit.
don't have to.
Okay, this is going on.
We could just say our names and quit.
Anyway, well, I'm Danny,
And I'm Andrew.
and we are
Nobody special.